No matter what fucking exercise you do in the gym, you will not be able to grow your glutes unless you focus on your nutrition.
A lot of women come to me and they're like, oh, I want to look like this girl. I want to look like this influencer. And I'm like, you realize that they have gone through more than just a 10-week fat loss phase that you think it's going to be. They have been training for years. So if you want that physique, then you need to actually commit to that time period.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Coaching Society podcast. Today's going to be fun. Today we're going to be talking about growing a bunda, building those glutes. We get so many people on a weekly basis ask us how you grow your glutes and saying that they're wanting to grow their glutes. So we thought we'd do one full episode on exactly that, the ins and outs, the nutrition, the mindset, the training. We'll dig deep and we'll dive into everything that you need to know to be able to grow your glutes.
A full episode on the boot. How good?
How good is it? It's my type of episode, if you ask me. But let's start with our insights from the week. So our lesson of the week. Do you want to start, darling?
Yes. So my lesson, not even lesson, it's just kind of something to, I suppose, live by, is if you want something, fucking go get it. Like, don't sit there and wait for it to fall into your lap. Like, if you're sitting there thinking, oh, I want to do this, or I wish I did this, or I wish I was, in this position, or whatever it is that you're sitting there wishing, like, stop wishing and fucking go do it. Like,
make it happen.
Make it happen.
Yeah.
I think an example for us recently is we've always spoke about being in a partnership with like a clothing label or an activewear brand to service our clients and, of course, like our broader community. And we've spoken about it for so long. And last week we were like, fuck it. Like, sitting here twiddling our thumbs isn't getting us anywhere. So let's actually actively pursue this. And we did. So we reached out to LSKD and now we're official partners with the clothing company.
Partners
LSKD.
with LSKD. So
it's pretty fucking cool.
Pretty cool. Super exciting. All of our members, clients, audience, listeners, everyone gets 15% off with LSKD using the code. I don't know the code yet. I'll tell you the code one day. But we'll announce that online. But yeah, no, super exciting that we've kind of gone out of our comfort zones, really reaching out to them and try to pursue that and make it happen. And I think that's something we always try and do, isn't it? Just make shit happen. Another thing personally as well, I've had a couple of people reach out since we mentioned that we're building a house, saying like, keep me updated with everything and how everything's going. So one thing that we've also done, which is very similar to what you said of like, if you want something, just go and do it. Our house isn't going to be built for at least another 12 months. And we were like, fuck it. Change is great. Let's get another rental over where we want to be. So we're building in Moama. And we were like, let's try and get another rental in Moama. So we're moving from Echuca to Moama next month.
I know, and I'm excited. I feel, well, this is the longest we've ever been in like one
house.
One house.
We've been here for over 2 years now. So
yeah, like I'm bored.
Yeah.
I need something new.
We do get bored quite easy, don't we? Like, I think if you have a good environment that you're surrounded by or that you're in and you're enjoying the environment that you're in, like changing that up can always be great to enjoy your environment and you can then be more productive. Everything's going to be better.
Oh, 100%. And I truly think that because we work from home as well, like if we're not inspired by our environment, then it's not going to come through to our work. So I want a new house. I want a nice kitchen. I want nice lighting.
Look out for all of the recipe reels and kitchen produced content.
I know. I'm so excited.
We're going to have such a nice kitchen.
I feel like we've had such a good week though. Like we've had so many wins. We had our team meeting this morning and we're going through like our weekly wins with everyone. And I was like, you know what? I can't pick one. Like I have had a really good freaking week. Like I'm so excited.
Yeah, we've had a good week. It's been good. So what's my lesson, what is mine? Oh, I forgot about it. Oh no, I remember. The power of investing in yourself. And that can be from any, like in your own development, that can be from any point of view, whether it's professional, personal, whatever it might be. Because we always try and invest in ourselves predominantly personally and professionally. So like this weekend, we're going to the Gold Coast. Clean Health Fitness Institute have a, conference, an event on the weekend. So the likes of James Smith, Mark Carroll, Lauren Simpson, Hattie Boyle, Lane Norton, they're all presenting, which is going to be super, super cool to listen to them. It's going to be very much around business, training, nutrition, coaching in general. We're actually taking all of our coaches, except for Court. Sorry, Court. Court can come. She can get a babysitter. But Yeah, we are really, really big on that within coaching societies, but also within ourselves personally, aren't we?
Always upskilling.
Yeah, absolutely. Like as I've said on the podcast before, the amount of like money we've invested in our own business development is in the hundreds of thousands. Like it's crazy. And I will always continue to do that. I think it's really, really important.
Yeah, you can never put like a dollar figure on like personal professional development, I don't think, because if you're investing your money, your time, effort into something, and it's worth it, it's going to return. Yeah. Like this event that we're taking our team to this weekend, that will improve our coaching abilities, our education, our knowledge around this industry, and service our clients better, which will in turn be a return for us, which is
exactly. And like that's a business investment, and like that will return in terms of business, client numbers, client retention, all of that stuff. But then on a personal level, if you're looking to invest in yourself personally, like in coaching, a personal investment I've made is the Aura Ring. I just got an Aura Ring. It's for me to be able to track my sleep, track my readiness for the day, and like track my own health a little bit better. So that's something that I've invested in to be able to then help me, because that knowledge I'm going to take will improve my life overall.
Early days, but what's the verdict on the Aura Ring?
Yeah, loving it. I'm not sure if the heart rate monitor is super accurate right now. First night,
hashtag athlete.
Yeah, first night my resting heart rate was 41 beats a minute. But then last night it was only 44. And it's pretty accurate through the day in comparison to my Apple Watch. So
gosh, I'd hate to know what my
maybe it's because I said to you, I've got a normal size heart and I'm a very fucking small human. So it just doesn't have to beat that often to get the blood around.
Should we go to the doctors about that? Is that a concern?
Yeah, it's okay. I'm Lance Armstrong.
All right, mate. You've been training in the gym consistently for like a month.
Yeah, that's okay. But no, it's been good. I'm enjoying like looking at everything on a day-to-day basis with how I'm sleeping. For me, my sleep is normally horrendous, and
you're the worst sleeper I've ever.
I try and just function off of very bad sleep. So if I can try and work on looking at that a bit more in a bit more depth and my sleep hygiene to try and work out, okay, what's causing me to have bad night's sleep? What's a common occurrence? How can I improve that by actually tracking it? Because I've never really tracked my sleep before. So
it's actually really interesting. I kind of want one.
Yeah. You saying that like, hey, it's my birthday in a month?
Maybe.
Okay.
No, I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah, but you're all more about what it looks like though.
Oh, look, I do like nice jewelry. But it's practical though. And like they look good. I think they look good. I don't know. I'm in two minds. I just bought an Apple Watch, so I'm like probably a bit excessive, hey?
You'll be all right. We'll see. It's your birthday. I might just give you a bunch of flowers and that's it. So I'll leave it as a surprise.
I'm only 25. Like, it's nothing massive, babe.
Okay, cool.
To be fair, 25 is like halfway to 50, which is kind of a big deal. But anyway.
You can pay for the subscription for the actual subscription you have to get on top of the ring. You can pay for that. Oh, so I'm signing you up for a lifeline of subscription. Lifelong? A lifetime of subscriptions.
Great. Add it to the list, babe.
Yeah, chuck them up.
I feel like we have so many fucking subscriptions. It's ridiculous.
That's a business. Anyway,
anywho.
Building the glutes. Should we crack on? So
yeah, let's get into it.
We get so many questions around building glutes.
I think at least maybe twice, 3 times a day.
Yeah, all the time. Like literally, because we coach females. It's what all females want to do.
Absolutely.
Like, so we thought we'd do a full episode rather than just like 5 or 10 minutes on everything. Now, I will also give a few hints that anything we say in this episode can be related to anything within your training and your nutrition. A lot of it is general information, but if you really want something, it's like saying, I want to lose 10 kilos. All of the things that we're going to say to help you build your glutes would also help you lose 10 kilos because your goal is to build your glutes. So we're going to go through some specific things on glutes, but it can be very easily correlated to a different body part, a fat loss goal, any other goal that you've got. Now, when people say that they want to build their glutes, generally I find most people, they're looking at their training. They're like, what should I do with my training? What type of exercise should I do? But what I want to do today, which we'll go through, is go through flipping it on its head a little bit and going through the actual most important things when it comes to building glutes. We'll talk about training, talk about glute exercises.
I think the problem here is like there's a multitude of things. Like there's not one thing like you got to do this in the gym to grow your glutes or you got to eat this food to grow your glutes. Like it's everything. And that's where people go wrong. They like are so pigeonholed to thinking this is the only way to grow my glutes that they forget about all of the other factors that play a major role in any kind of muscular development.
With Instagram as well, like so many female influencers are posting like glute workouts or glute exercises, and people think that's the fucking magic trick.
Yeah. Like do this variation of a hip thrust and you'll grow glutes. It's like, sis, that's like literally 2% of it.
Yeah, literally. And the big thing that we're going to start with here is that no matter what fucking exercise you do in the gym or whatever you do in the gym, you will not be able to grow your glutes unless you focus on your nutrition. Like, it's the same with fat loss. You can do whatever you want and you jump up and down 100 times, as many times as you want. With your fat loss goals, unless you focus on your nutrition, you're not going to achieve fat loss. Same with building your glutes. Because to build any muscle group or to build muscle in general, you need to be in a calorie surplus, which is so crucial that a lot of people think, oh, I want to lose a little bit of body fat and then build my glutes at the same time. If you're looking at building your glutes, you're probably looking at going into an actual build phase and getting yourself in preparation and ready for that.
Like it's virtually impossible to be able to see like a good glute growth when you're dieting. Like it's complete opposites.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like anything. Like if you really want to prioritize that one thing, you need to make sure that you are going all in for that. So when it comes to a build phase, and if you are looking at building your glutes, in my opinion, you want to give minimum 6 months. And this is where so many people go wrong, is they expect to get the outcome within like the next 6 to 8 weeks. Like you're not going to build substantial glute mass and muscle mass in your glutes in 6 or 8 weeks. If you've never been through a build phase before though, if I tell you to go into a build phase for 6 to 12 months, you're probably going to run away. You're probably going to be shit scared. So take the number 12 out. Don't even worry about that. Like we're not even going to be thinking about a 12-month build until you've done your 3rd or 4th build. So our recommendation in terms of how long you should aim to build
if you're a beginner, if you've never done a build before.
Yeah. If you've never done a build before, like top end would be 6 months. And with that as well, we'd probably recommend a like week or 2 diet break, which is like the opposite of a normal diet break, but a week or 2 are either maintenance or in a slight deficit in the middle. So you do 3 months building your nutrition intake up, and then you then have a diet break where you're sitting at maintenance or maybe slightly under for a week or 2, depending on how you're traveling. And that will reset you, get you motivated again to go for another 3 months to get you up to the 6 months.
Well, the reason why so many people, when they've never gone through a build phase, like they've come to us, say like, I want to grow my glutes or anything, and like we propose the idea of putting them into a proper build phase. If we say, okay, cool, we're going to sit here for 9 months, they're like, and they've never done it before, they're like, holy shit, 9 months? Like I was expecting more so 9 weeks. And it's like, that's where like your mindset needs to change to be like, okay, if I want to build muscle mass, then I need to be committed for the long term, or I need to be in it for the long haul.
Yeah, exactly. And also know that like once you come out of the end of that build, you can then go into a fat loss phase again. You can drop body fat. And that's where I would recommend, if you were to plan your training journey over the next probably 3 to 5 years, you'd look to start with a 6-month build, then a fat loss phase for 12 weeks, then a 9-month build, and then a fat loss phase for 12 or 16 weeks, and then a 12-month build, and then a fat loss phase for probably 16 to 20 weeks. Like that's how I would map that out long term. And that then means that you're then mentally preparing yourself for a shorter amount of time rather than a longer amount of time, but gradually over time, you're then going to increase the length that you're in a build. And optimal world, ideal world, I think all females in particular should be in a build for like 9 to 12 months. But we know that that doesn't sit right for a lot of people. A lot of people aren't going to be able to sustain it for that long. So next thing is the biggest mistake that people make when it comes to their nutrition in a build phase. And that's tracking. Like a lot of people don't track their nutrition when they go into a build, or their adherence to tracking nutrition.
They're just sloppy with it.
Yeah.
Like it's just sloppy tracking.
Exactly. And the reason for that is because a lot of people don't see like with a build phase, you're not going to see initial results. It's going to take you a good 3, 4, 5, 6 maybe months.
It's a long slog.
To actually see that your glutes have grown. See that your glutes have grown. To see that your glutes have grown. So it's going to take you a while.
Do you know what came into my head just then? What's that fictional character for the Avengers? That tree? Groot?
No idea. Groot, yeah, I know you mean.
Anyway,
yeah.
Sorry.
You're fucked. Yeah, so it's going to take you a while, and that's where people then just go, oh, I'm not seeing results, and they let their adherence slip with their tracking. Whereas if you look at a fat loss client, if you track your calories for 2 weeks and you're in a deficit, you will see fat loss results. And you know then that tracking your calories is what's caused you to lose body fat. So you're going to continue doing that. Whereas if you're in a build phase and you're in a surplus and you're tracking your calories for 2 weeks and you don't see any results, because you fucking won't see any results in 2 weeks, then you're then probably going to stop tracking your calories because you've not seen that instant gratification and that return in results.
Yeah, you're going to tap out of the goal. Like you're going to be like 2 weeks ago, I was like, yep, I'm going to build. Like I'm going to go into a build block. I'm going to focus on my strength, focus on developing muscle mass. But because you didn't see results in 2 weeks, you're like, no, fuck that.
Yeah.
Like I'm out.
Exactly. So yeah, you've got to be in it for the long term when it comes to like getting, because you don't lose muscle mass overnight as well. So remember that if you do go into a 6, 9, 12 month build and you build a substantial amount of muscle, as long as you maintain some form of training for the long term, after that, you're going to maintain your results. You're going to maintain all of that muscle mass that you've got there, or at least be able to get it back very fucking quickly. So if you do the initial hard work for that first kind of build phase, you'll be able to maintain that for quite a substantial amount of time after. So yes, it's like choosing your hard. It's like this next 6 months might be hard because I'm not going to see the quickest results, but long term, I'm going to get results that last.
It's like a lot of women come to me and they're like, oh, I want to look like this girl. I want to look like this influencer. And I'm like, you realize that they have gone through more than just a 10-week fat loss phase that you think it's going to be. They have been training for years. They've gone through build phases. They've gone through reverse diets. They've gone through fat loss phases. They've set up maintenance. They've done it all for years. So if you want that physique, then you need to actually commit to that time period.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, the other element of nutrition is your calories, your macros. We've spoken about being in a calorie surplus, which is fantastic, but let's take that a layer deeper now. Let's look at macronutrient breakdown. So if we're looking at the macro breakdown as well, like we've talked about calories, we've talked about being in a surplus, but let's now look about how we can make that a bit more advanced and break that down into macronutrients. So your macronutrients obviously make up your calories. So if we're just looking at macros, your calories will fall into place nicely. So work out where you want to be in that surplus, whether it's 10%, 15%, 20% over your maintenance level. And first thing you want to think about is your protein. So my recommendation is 2.5 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. So work out how many calories that's going to be. Then you want to then look at your fats. And I would say going to 1.2 grams of fats per kilogram of body weight would be like the higher end. In a deficit, like in your peak of your deficit, you should be at 0.8 grams of fat per kilogram. In a surplus, I'd say the most fats that you need within your diet is 1.2 grams. And then your carbohydrates literally make up the rest. So if you are going through like quite an aggressive build phase, you're going to get to the point where you've got enough protein and enough fats. And that's where then any added calories from that you're increasing over time will purely come from carbohydrates. Utilize that to train fucking hard, to have more energy, to feel fucking awesome. Because your carbs are your main source of energy. So if you've got way more carbs in your diet because you're in a build phase, you're going to be fucking on the roof. You're going to be literally in the clouds.
Pinging.
Yeah, you literally will feel incredible. So really like lean into that because...
Provided they're the right carbohydrates. I'm going to add that, but just obviously we won't go into it. But yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that's how I would like structure it basically, is like when you get to the point that I genuinely just increase, generally, I always get them words confused.
You literally can't talk today.
Generally, I would look to increase protein, increase fats and carbs all evenly up until the point where your proteins and fats are at the higher end, and then it will just then literally be carbohydrates. So you get an extra, if you had an extra 200 calories, that's 50 grams of carbs. It's a lot of carbohydrates extra. Yeah. So those increases turn out well. What do you reckon?
A really, like that kind of method is a really straightforward way of looking at it. To break down your carbs, your fats, your protein, your overall caloric intake, where you want to start within your surplus, so how much of a percentage of a surplus you want to be in. What would be your recommendation for someone who is sitting here right now and they're like, okay, I think I'm going to commit to a 6-month build, never done a build before. Where should they start within their surplus? Would you go 10% above?
Maintenance. I'd start at maintenance. The main reason for that is that most people who want to build muscle are in the position where they're either gone through a fat loss phase or they're not building muscle right now because they're under eating. So if you go straight into a 10% surplus, they might currently be in a 20% deficit. If you give them 30% extra food or however much extra food, that's a lot of extra food. So first thing is people might struggle to actually eat that amount, and then they get that negative
Yep.
relationship feeling like they're force feeding.
So how long
Second
would...
thing is cutting in. Second thing is that they will feel like they're probably going to gain unnecessary body fat because they're going straight from that 20% deficit straight into a 10% surplus. So I'd start at maintenance, sit at maintenance for like a month, and then start to then increase.
How long? So sit at maintenance for a month and then go into like a 10-15% surplus?
Yeah, I go 10%.
Yep.
Start at 10%, see how you go, see how your body reacts. Generally, if you're gaining anywhere between 250 grams to 500 grams of body weight per month, that's probably about right. If you're gaining any more than that, then you can't gain muscle that quickly, or you won't be gaining muscle that quickly unless you are injecting. But then
we don't do that.
Yeah, and then you know that it's body fat, and you don't want to gain unnecessary body fat. Like, you want to keep off your body fat as best as possible.
Yeah.
But there are two obviously methods to building.
Yep.
There's the slow, gradual approach, or there's the aggressive approach.
This is like always interests me. Would you say that there's ever a ceiling on how much someone should be eating? Because I feel like I see this all the time in women in particular who aren't educated on the topic. They're just like increasing their food again and again and again and again and again, and to the point where like their digestive system slows down, like everything just starts getting really slow, I guess. What would you say there?
Well, the first thing is looking at your biofeedback and your markers there, because if your energy is slipping because you're having too much food and you're not like expending all of the energy that you've got, if you're feeling really sluggish, if your digestion's turning to shit, pardon the pun, then you should probably start to look at, okay, where's things at. The other thing is, like, if you are increasing your calories more and more and more and more, and as I mentioned with scale weight, if you're then increasing weight really, really quickly, you're literally just gaining body fat that you're going to have to lose at some stage. And that's what so many people do, is they do go too aggressive, and it then means it's harder to come out of it at the end of it. So I think, yes, there's a fine line. You want to go aggressive enough that's going to give you good results, and you want to put yourself in the best position and give yourself the best potential to be able to gain muscle. But you also don't want to go too aggressive where you're just packing on body fat, and then you're
Which
just
is
like...
what you see so many times. Like people are like, I'm going into a bulk, and they literally just eat shit.
Yeah.
Like they just stack on the body fat, and they're like, it's fine, I'm building. And I'm like, honey,
you're getting fat.
You're building the wrong thing.
Yeah.
But it's just because they're uneducated in the area. Like a build should be just as structured as like a fat loss phase.
That's it. Like, that was what I was about to say, structure. Like you need to still have the same amount of structure with your with your build phase as you did in your fat loss phase. Like ultimately you are still dieting. Diet is what you eat. Like you're not dieting for fat loss, you're now dieting for muscle gain. So when it comes to the structure that you need to make sure you're having, you still need to weigh yourself every single day, take progress photos every single week, like do your measurements, check your biofeedback markers and your biofeedback analysis. Like all of that stuff still needs to come into play. I see so many people go into a build, they stop weighing themselves, stop taking progress photos because they're not liking what they're looking like, because you're fucking eating too much. That's why you don't like what you look like. And they stop doing all the things they did that got them fat loss results. Just think of it as like you are trying to do the opposite thing, but you need to do everything the same.
So in saying that, if you've never done a build phase before, like it is really scary. Like it is a big thing, and seeing your body, particularly as a female myself who has experience, is like seeing your body change, seeing you put on, your scale weight's going up, like things are going in a direction that you're not used to. So I suppose that's where it comes down to your mindset, which is something that we can talk about now before we move into training. So with your mindset, I feel like there's so many elements of it that people disregard when they're about to go into a build. So the way that I personally see it is there's like 3 different departments that you need to invest time, money, energy into when you're going into a build phase. One being your training, so getting a gym membership, investing time into going to the gym. Obviously your nutrition, so making sure that that's on track. And then the way that you're talking to yourself, the way that you have developed your mindset to approach this build phase. So a lot of people who go into like a build phase of wanting to grow their glutes or whatever it may be, they don't want it enough. Like they're like, okay, I've seen it on Instagram.
You need to fucking want it.
Yeah. Like I've seen it on Instagram. This chick has like really nice glutes. Like I want that. And it's so surface level to the point where when it gets hard, when you don't see results within the first 2 weeks because you didn't want it enough, you'll chuck the towel in. Like you need to really, really want it.
Yeah. We like, obviously whenever anyone shows an inkling of interest of working with us, we always want to know their goals. So we ask them their goals, and so many people are like, oh, I just want to lose a bit of weight, or I just want to like lose a bit of weight and grow my glutes. And I'm like, you don't really want to grow your glutes because you don't know how hard that actually fucking is. Like, you need to be like, yep, I want to go into a build phase. I want to grow my glutes and I want to work fucking hard for this because it takes a long time. You will see slow progress. So you need to really, really want it. And if you are thinking, I just want to lose a bit of weight and grow my glutes, lose weight.
First.
That is your first goal. Don't worry about growing your glutes. Don't worry about that being a goal. Yes, you can work your glutes. You can still do glute exercises. Fantastic. But lose weight first because that's probably going to be the most powerful thing that you will achieve.
It's going to get you in the door. Like it's going to give you quicker results. And when you see quicker results, when you get to the end of that fat loss phase, then you're like, okay, cool. I really enjoyed seeing my body change, seeing my body, change depending on what I'm working towards. Now's a good time to go into a build because you prove to yourself what you can do. And chances are you've established a routine as well.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the other thing is that people then learn how to track their nutrition. People learn how to train consistently, get that routine. So then entering into a build phase, it's going to be a damn sight easier, isn't it? Like if you've already established everything else, let's say you had a complete newbie who's never been to the gym before and they wanted to grow their glutes and you put them straight into a build phase, they're going to see very little results and that's going to demotivate them. So then they're not then going to actually adhere as well as you'd like. They're not going to put the effort in and then they give up altogether.
Okay, so then here's a scenario. You get someone who comes to you and says, I don't have any weight to lose. Like I don't want to lose weight.
Yep.
I just want to grow my glutes, but I am a newbie. What would you tell them?
Well, if they don't have weight to lose and they don't want to lose weight, they actually will see okay results. So that's where I would then start giving them performance-based goals alongside like as many other goals as possible alongside their physique-based goals of growing their glutes. So they will probably see results if they're a complete newbie in the first 2 or 3 months from their training. But that's where you need to have, okay, let's see if we can hip thrust 100 kilos in the next 6 months. Let's see if we can get to the point where you can squat your body weight. With your nutrition, I want you to be tracking 5 days a week to your calorie goal at least. And then we just then week by week break that down and go, okay, did we hit 5 days last week? Why not? This is what we need to change. And getting really deep on their why as well is super, super crucial for any goal. But if someone's goal, I hate to say it, but I call it wishy-washy. Like some people do have wishy-washy goals.
Oh, I've been there. I've had wishy-washy goals.
Oh, absolutely. We all have, I think, at certain times. Like some people come to us with really, really powerful goals. It's like, I need to lose 30 kilos because I want to fall pregnant, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm like, fuck, that's as powerful as you can be. Whereas other people are like, oh, I just want to grow my glutes and I just want to get toned. I'm like, that's quite wishy-washy. So why do you really want to achieve that? Because when it gets hard, you need to dig in and think back to your why to then be able to
like attach an emotional connection to it.
Exactly. So yeah, you really, really do have to have a very, very strong mindset when it comes to a build phase, particularly if it is your first one. That's for sure.
And yeah, if you're going through your first build phase as well, I would 100% recommend hiring a coach or reaching out to someone just for help because in my opinion, build phases are so much fucking harder than fat loss phases.
Is easy.
Oh, fat loss is so easy compared to build phases. That's where you need the support. I truly believe that.
And the accountability and guidance, yeah. Definitely.
Oh, yeah, not to give in when like things are going the opposite direction to what you're used to. That's where you need someone, in your corner supporting you, going through all the highs and lows, reassuring you that this is a part of the process. This is why we're doing what we're doing and to dig deep into that why.
Yeah, exactly. Should we talk training?
Yeah, let's do it.
In my opinion, I fucking love training. Like I love
You're a training geek.
Like, yeah, the programming
it's actually really cool
side of things. But I think it's the fun part, but it's the easy part when it comes to building your glutes, when it comes to fat loss, when it comes to anything. Training is so easy. Like that's why the majority of our coaching, what we do is built around support, accountability, nutrition. And then training is almost just like a fucking add-on because everything else is so much harder. If you go into the gym, you're going to get results. And like that's the hardest part that most people find is actually getting to the fucking gym. But let's talk about training. So when you are wanting to do a specialist program for a like specific muscle group, so if you're going to do like a glute specialization program, you want to focus on a few different things. The first thing is making sure that you are prioritizing that muscle group. And bodybuilders do this all the time. Like if a bodybuilder has small lats or if a bodybuilder has small shoulders or whatever it might be, they will target that muscle group more than the other muscle groups. And I want to emphasize the point that it's more than the other muscle groups, not instead of. So many people will be like, I want to grow my glutes, and they don't do a single fucking quad exercise.
But you can tell though when you look at them, it's like, fuck, you got a nice set of glutes there, sis, but where are your quads?
And you can tell when they get knee injuries because their fucking quads are weak. Like, you need to still train everything else, but then you can just train your glutes with a higher frequency. So frequency is something that we are really, really big on, like with your training. I don't really like the bro split, training all of your muscle groups once per week. It wouldn't be like you'd go, okay, I'm going to do arms on one day, glutes on the next day, quads on the next day, chest, back, and then glutes again. You want to be training all of your muscle groups at least twice a week. And then what I would recommend if you are wanting to specifically target your glutes is train them 3 times a week. So that doesn't mean doing an extra day that is purely glute based, but you would just add more glute exercises into your days. Now, if you are really wanting to target a specific muscle group, I'd probably say you would need to be training like very, very bare minimum 4 times a week, preferably 5 times, because then you get rest in between your sessions for that specific area for your glutes. Mm-hmm. So that's like, I think frequency wise where we probably need to be.
Yeah. So what would you say in terms of movements then? Because there's a lot of noise on Instagram that people are like, do this hip thrust to grow your glutes. Don't do a hip thrust. Yeah, do this, don't do this. Like, it's very conflicting. What would be your opinion on what to do?
So if you're looking at the glutes and the anatomy of the glutes and also the functionality of the glutes, they work in multiple different ways. But effectively, they work through hip extension. But we can then target and load the glutes in different ways through hip extension. So if you're looking at your main 3 movements that you should incorporate, we're wanting to incorporate a squat. With a squat, you work your glutes in the stretch position. So when you get to the very bottom of a squat, that's where you're working your glutes the most. That's why we recommend full range of motion when it comes to squats, because they are stretched the most and the muscle builds from stretching or contracting. So if we can work it in the stretch position there, fantastic. Same with a Romanian deadlift or some kind of hip extension or hip hinge variation. So Romanian deadlifts, you're working your glutes in the stretch position and then through contraction on the way up, and then a hip thrust. And that's going to be loaded at the very, very top. So the difference between a Romanian deadlift, if you're watching, with a Romanian deadlift, you're upright and there's no tension going through the glutes when you're at the top. With a hip thrust, you're horizontal, and then when you're holding your hips at the very top with the bar on your lap, that's where you have the most tension. So it's really important to load the glutes in different ends of the range through different exercises.
I think that's where like a lot of women go wrong. Like they think that they only need to hip thrust for the next 6 months to grow their glutes. Like there's so many different other areas that you need to be working on and things that you need to take into account, like those 3 things. So that's also another thing that's really important that you take into account when building out your program. Yeah,
definitely. And another trick to the trade, I guess, of that is that if you are really, really wanting to grow your glutes and you're training, let's say, lower body 3 times a week, and glutes is like the main area you want to work, you can incorporate all 3 of those movement patterns into all 3 of those lower body days with different variations. So, for example, if we had 3 lower body days a week and glutes is the target area, you might do your squat as your main exercise on day 1. You might do your hip thrust as your main exercise on the second lower body day. And then the third lower body day, you might do a hip extension exercise like a Romanian or just a normal deadlift. And then on those days, your accessory and your assistance lifts can be the opposite movements. So on your squat day, you might do a glute bridge, which is similar to a hip thrust. It's still working the hip thrust motion, but you're doing
your primary movement.
Yeah, it's not your primary movement. You're doing it as an accessory exercise. Then you might also do a 45-degree back extension. So that's similar to your Romanian deadlift, which is your primary movement on day 3, but you then get hip extension through the hip hinge range. You get your squat and you get your like glute bridge or hip thrust all on the same day, 3 times a week.
Mm-hmm. So you can see that the frequency of you actually training your glutes is far higher, which is what you ultimately need to grow your glutes in terms of the training about it.
Yeah, exactly. And the intensity is definitely another thing that people go wrong with. Like when it comes to training, people go through the motions. If you really want to build a muscle group, fucking train it hard. Push to failure. Push hard with that muscle group. Like so many people do these wishy-washy like crab walks and fucking kickbacks and glute activation exercises which don't actually grow your glutes. Like they do.
They activate.
Yeah.
It's in the title.
And a lot of people, like, if I wanted to grow my biceps, for example, right, I would do heavy chin-ups and I would do really fucking heavy bicep curls. I wouldn't do like 2 kilo dumbbells with 40 or 50 reps for my biceps to activate them to build muscle there. And that's exactly what people are doing when they do stupid kickbacks or glute bridges and things like that. Those are all good exercises to activate your glutes and to isolate your glutes, but you need to make sure that you are incorporating your big primary lifts on top of all of those accessory movements.
I think it's because they look good. Like, they're Instagrammable. Like, who doesn't love filming themselves freaking doing a kickback when your glutes look fire? Like, they look cool. Like, fucking oath they do. But the practicality of them?
Exactly. Like, yeah, little crab walks where girls take fucking videos of themselves with their ass hanging out. Like, kickbacks, exercises like that look good for people to do on Instagram. So people try and follow them thinking that's what they did to grow their glutes. And they didn't see the 120 kilo Romanian deadlifts where their face looked like shit and they had a double chin where they're tucking their chin that they did before that.
I've never heard of anything so true in my life.
That's exactly why people do all of that shit, is because
it gets your attention on Instagram.
It gets your attention on Instagram. They post it on Instagram and people think that's what they did to grow their glutes, and it's not. And they also forget about everything else, like the mindset and the nutrition that we already spoke about.
See, it's quite a complex area. See why we had to do a whole episode to this.
Exactly. And as we said at the start, every single element of what we covered there with nutrition, mindset, training, and specializing certain muscle groups can be orientated around any other muscle group.
Yeah.
If you're a guy and you want to grow your chest, train your chest more. Like, it's almost as simple as that. Like, focus on nutrition, get into a build phase, be in the mindset you're going to be in a build phase for a long time, and then maybe just target your chest a bit more than all the other muscle groups.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. So, give me a recap on the 3 areas that you need to
focus. Fucking struggling me.
3 areas that you need to focus on for glute growth in particular. And what would be the number one takeaway if anyone's going to take anything from this? Starting with nutrition.
Nutrition, the main area is being in a surplus and doing it for at least 6 months, not just like, I want to build some muscle and hoping that in 2 months' time you're going to have some muscle on there.
Yep. Training,
high frequency. Training the specific area like your glutes 3 times a week. Mindset. Know that you need to be in it for the long haul and be in that all or nothing approach. Like, either if you're not in it for the long haul, don't even bother.
Yeah, don't. Like, if you're not fully invested in this, don't do it. Because it'll just be a waste of your time.
Yep. Beautiful.
Love it.
Cool. What's next week?
I have no idea. Well, next week we'll be home from the Gold Coast.
Yeah, we'll be home from the Gold Coast.
Yeah, so we'll give a bit of a recap as to...
We'll do that, shall we? Yeah.
Yeah, a bit of a recap as to what went down on...
As you know, we don't plan these episodes because we're literally live talking now about what we're going to talk about next week. So, next week we'll do a Gold Coast Clean Health event recap, which will be cool. I'm super excited for this weekend. It'll be a really fun weekend. It's going to be so fun.
And you've never been to the Gold Coast before.
I know.
You've been living in Australia for 10 years and you've never been to the Gold Coast.
I know. Pom's on tour.
Pom's on tour. Oh, dear God.
But thank you all for tuning in. Hope you can all grow your glutes after this episode. If anyone has any questions or opinions on anything, let us know.
Yeah.
But see you all next week.
Thanks for tuning in. Bye.